I love you guys.
Welcome to Torg Stories Podcast, a rare Saturday night recording. Plus, we're using video. Izzy Torg might start working for the pod, pulling out your hottest takes for the TikTok and Instagram, man.
Oh, so exciting. I really hope it blows up. I'm sure it will.
I've got on my Larry Bird shirt with his face on it. Let me move to the side. Ann said, I can't imagine wearing a shirt with Larry Bird's face on it.
Yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, anybody's face, honestly, but Larry's, no.
I saw that USC was wearing a shirt with Juju Watkins' face on it tonight.
Oh, well, that has meaning. That's nice. That's sweet.
This has meaning.
I guess, but I mean, not specific to the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday night, we're podcasting. Does this say a lot about us? I don't know. It's actually only 5 p.m. in LA, so I'd like to get that on record.
Yeah. Well, right. So, and for me, 54 years old, married with 2 kids, I think.
Right. What are you doing?
Yeah. What should I be doing? This is
exactly
using my time wisely. Had to wait till the UConn game finished where Paige Beckers went for over 40 or right at 40.
I think I saw on TikTok it was 40. I didn't watch the game, but I saw 40.
Yeah. You haven't got into the tournament.
No. I watched a little bit of TCU and Notre Dame today because I did select Notre Dame. I didn't pay close attention to it, but of course Notre Dame lost, and I thought, well, there goes all my brackets. I'm sure I'm just a loser in all the brackets.
There's a lot of bad bracketing by we Torgs.
Yeah, but you guys selected. I think a lot of you guys picked UConn, the women. So
okay, I haven't even talked about what we're doing today. I want to rant about late game timeout usage.
Fun.
Yeah, Ann and I are going to look back on our life of working out. We talk about what's healthy when someone hurts you. We dig in on Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 4. We've added another segment, Romanticize Your Life. I think we're calling it the Gen Z segment. I'm not supposed to say that it's produced by Izzy, but how can we not?
No, we don't want people to think we're producing TikTok trends. I mean, it's a younger person, more tuned into it.
We have to contextualize that segment. Otherwise, you're like, why are Ann and Bill even?
Yeah, they're following TikTok trends. What's with them? Yeah.
We wouldn't know about.
I don't want that rep. Yeah, that's not my
rep. Is it really? Maybe Iz doesn't either. Is that really a trend? Romanticize your life? Is that a trend?
I guess. I mean, it must be if it caught our attention. I actually have not seen any of them myself, so it was my first time. I watched 2.
Yeah, Iz sent us 2 videos. And LA snapshot of what's going on in your life.
Yeah, basically this last week, I've started to think, really today, I started to think, boy, I'm not prepared for my trip at all. My trip is in a week from Tuesday.
What's the day?
I need to build I'm an itinerary person, I need to build some itineraries. I don't know anything right now. The only thing I know is I'm going to Paris for one day. I happen to look at my tickets today, and I realized I have to get at the train at 5:36 in the morning. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that, So I need to really get my itinerary together. I need to get my crap together. I don't want to just show up. Huh?
What's your departure date?
Tuesday, a week from Tuesday. It'll be all day flying. I'll arrive Wednesday morning in London, and I'll be coming back on Tuesday. So it's a pretty short trip.
1 week?
1 week. I did get a notice from HR that says, Ann, you are reaching the limit on your PTO again. You need to take vacation now. Good. And they said, we will give you a one-time chance to cash out 40 hours and just get money for it. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. Great. Because I'll use that money for my trip.
Yeah. Good. We would love for you to come hang out with our mom while we work in a second trip this year.
Right, which I'll do, no problem. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Just give you the date.
Well, other people, they use their PTO all the time, I guess, and I'm just a banker. I'm a hoarder.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought they were going to say you finally were approaching your limit.
Well, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
No, I mean, like you're out of days.
Oh, no. I've never even been close to being out of days. Yeah. I have like 220 hours, something like that.
So did Juju Watkins' knee injury reverberate through Los Angeles such that it got brought up at your place of work?
No, I didn't hear anybody talk about it. I've never heard anybody talk about women's basketball at my workplace. No, I feel like there are a lot of non-sports people. I mean, it's a creative industry. It's maybe a little more artistic.
Right.
There are a lot of Dodger fans and a lot of Laker fans, and that's about it, I think.
So that somebody will mention the Dodgers at work.
Yeah, for sure. As they start getting better. And people definitely do talk about the Lakers.
All right, a little
unfortunately.
snapshot of kind of what's in the front of my mind. I have been watching the tournament, men's and women's. You know, I have a three TV setup. Mostly I have two TVs going. A lot of times a game on one screen, a game on the other side. Sometimes split screens on both. So really delivering on the buzzer beaters, delivering on introducing me to new people.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know, it's what it's just I'm practicing what I preach, which is if you sit down and watch the games, there will be people who stand out and you get to know.
Well, I do believe that. Yeah, for sure. If you watch, you will get to know and you'll start cheering for one team. Speaking about buzzer beaters, I know it's not a buzzer beater, but did you see Jokic's shot from like three
I did.
quarters where he just like heaved it with his hand? Yeah.
One
I mean,
hander, three
crazy.
quarter court. Yep. You did have an LA buzzer beater.
Oh, what do you mean, the Lakers
The
tip in?
LeBron tip in.
Right. Yeah, I didn't watch that because Laker games are blacked out, but I heard about it from you.
LeBron had kind of an interesting week. So first of all, Pat McAfee, you know who he is.
I do. Yeah.
Do you
Former
remember when
Colts punter.
you remember him punting?
Yeah, I do. Oh, yeah. I remember the idiot kicker. Wasn't he talking about Pat
Was
McAfee
he
or no?
talking about Pat McAfee on the idiot kicker? I don't think he was.
Maybe not. Maybe he's talking about field goal guy. Oh,
Yeah.
that other guy. I remember who he talked. Jet or something like that.
Oh, Vanderjet. Yeah.
Vanderjet. Yeah.
So LeBron went on Pat McAfee. I guess I can see him getting after Stephen A. Smith. He looks really silly saying mean things about Brian Windhorst, unless I don't, and there's something about Brian Windhorst I don't know.
Right. I didn't delve deep into the comments he made. I've heard peripherally a little bit. I saw the video he posted or something about Stephen A. Smith boxing and being like this, kind of making fun of him, I guess, for that. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, I have no real love for. He's just a loudmouth and he does walk like he owns the world.
Right.
So he can be hit down a peg. But yeah, the other guy, I don't have
It
any
was
problems
like
with.
he was saying like Brian Windhorst acts like my friend. Maybe he was saying that a little bit about Stephen A. Smith or in general about some writers, but to me, Brian Windhorst doesn't act like that at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all reporters probably try to be polite to these guys, right? And try to be friendly.
I mean, to me, Brian Windhorst is fair, professional, and the only thing he would say is like, when I was 20 and entering sports writing in Akron, Ohio, LeBron was the same age coming up. And so this guy's been around as long as I've been writing. And I was fortunate to cover him early so that sort of, gave him a head start on everybody else. I think that's all he ever claims.
Right. I don't know. I guess maybe LeBron's just very sensitive,
So
to
I
the
think LeBron comes off. I like LeBron. I'm an admirer of LeBron. Seems like a family guy, conditioning, etc. Um, he looks bad here.
It does look bad. I mean, we're all flawed human beings, aren't we? And sometimes we look bad.
Again, yeah,
But yeah,
well,
you think if you're rich, top of the world, you just shut up and get going. These guys are kind of, I don't want to say beneath you because that doesn't sound right, but it's like, don't worry about it. Just you're fine. You're going to get your money. You're going to get your glory. So
so
there's some
LeBron
criticism in the press.
LeBron goes on with McAfee, which is filmed in Indianapolis, and then he goes and tips in the game winner. And then did you see the Lakers game the next night? What happened?
No.
Lakers are up 115, 110 over the Bulls with 12.6 seconds
Oh, I
left.
did see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. LeBron throws a ridiculous pass. It gets stolen, right?
So
And
first
by Giddy,
the Bulls hit a three.
right?
LeBron makes a horrible turnover, incredible turnover for who he is.
Right. An inbound pass, a lazy inbound pass.
Bulls hit another three, up one, timeout. Um, Lakers score to take the lead,
Right.
and you can take it from there if you want.
Well, then Giddy gets the ball, right? And he's
Yeah,
going, and it is kind of hard to guard a guy going full blast down the
sure.
court.
Yep.
The seconds are ticking down. You don't want to foul him. He's going to heave a half court shot. So you're like, I don't want to touch him, but he made it.
Made it.
He made it.
So
So
that
yeah,
was 9 points in 12.6 seconds.
yeah, crazy. I
Because
mean, things can turn.
I have a shirt that says 8 points in 6 seconds.
And what's that for?
That commemorates Reggie Miller's 8 points against the Knicks to win.
Oh, right. I've seen that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of that.
Right.
Anyway, that's what I've been thinking about. And then we have the Watauga Women's Athletic Banquet tomorrow.
Oh, exciting. Gotta love a banquet. Do you guys have like a full meal at this thing or
We
what?
do. So
Oh, interesting.
me, Coach Epps, Izzy, and Megan, we will get we end up getting a nice place for no charge in Blowing Rock, which is a great town. And we'll get there at 3, and it'll take us about 2.5 hours to set up. Megan's like bought flowers, and she'll do centerpieces and vases and set
It's
up the
just for
table.
you guys?
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
that
Interesting.
takes Ann and I back in Winnemac. This would be here's two things. It would be so much easier for me if this is what we did. However, it was so long.
Yeah, it was long. We had every sport in that season, and we'd all sit there in a room called the Socialtorium, which is an auditorium, and we'd watch everybody happening. That's why I think it's weird that you don't have it at your own
Didn't we
school.
have a potluck?
I
Did
feel like
we?
I don't remember if we ate or not. We probably did. I mean, there had to be more to it.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, and not only are you not doing it at your school, but you're not even doing it in the school district. You're doing,
yeah,
you're doing
it's in the school district.
Blowing Rock?
Yeah,
They
we
don't have
have
their own team?
no, there's 8.
Oh,
There's
maybe I'm
there's
thinking of middle school or something.
it's a weird Watauga County has 8 K-8 schools, no one middle school, all feeding into Watauga High School.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, great. Yeah, Blowing Rock's great town. So
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah, it's just you guys. Uh, how long is it gonna last?
Good. I would say 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we'll eat and then you give little some talks and people get their awards, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's catered, Italian. Um it'll be so that's what, 25 minutes, let people get started on their food. Really when I finish my food, I will get up and start it. Um Coach Epps will do the JV. We'll say a little something about each player. I'll do the same. Um we got a four-peat shirt, which is a surprise, but I don't think anyone will listen to this before the banquet. I may not even get this out before the banquet. So, Ann, it was our 4th year in a row winning the conference tournament and winning the conference.
Oh, congratulations. That's
So,
great.
four-peat shirt. You,
And wait, I'm gonna mention it. You won something like Coach of the Year or something, right?
oh yeah, you wanted to bring that up.
I wanted to bring that up and I forgot. And of
Because
course, you're not going to bring it up.
you think it'll irritate me that you brought it up.
No, I just think I was congratulating you
Oh,
publicly.
thank you
Yeah,
very much.
way to go. This is an embarrassing fact. Whenever I think about awards banquet, you know which awards banquet I think about that pops
Right.
in my mind, my personal history?
All right.
I want to say I was probably 8 or 9, and it was for softball, and it was in the 12-mile park in a little picnic
Oh yeah.
pavilion,
Right.
and I won MVP,
Yes, Ann.
and I won, like best batting average, and I won something else, and I didn't win Rookie of the Year. And I was like, Mom, if I'm the MVP, why didn't I win Rookie of the Year? And she's like, Aunt, you can't win all the awards.
Right.
And so that was the top of my career, 8 years old, went downhill from there.
You trended down after the.
Trended down, but I actually do have
Who
memories of
was
that. Isn't that
who was the
crazy?
MVP of your horrible softball team?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
We don't even give it. I don't give any individual awards.
Yeah, there might not have been in high school. This was like,
I
summer
mean,
league softball.
people do, but
I mean,
this,
everybody knows who your MVP is. Yeah.
I mean, this year Kate has won a lot of awards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if I should list them. I'll tell you a couple of them. Gatorade North Carolina Player of the Year.
Right. I saw it.
North Carolina Coaches Association Player of the Year.
Awesome.
And then there's this website called Max Preps, which everyone would know who's remotely
I've
affiliated.
heard of Max Preps.
Okay, even Ann knows.
Yeah, I know
So
it.
she was the North Carolina Max Preps Player of the Year. There's more, but
Awesome.
that's probably enough for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, so like, do you want to just give her a couple more?
Yeah, Watauga team MVP.
Yeah. So, and there's some like all conference stuff and so forth.
Right.
So,
Best senior, you
yeah.
have all sorts of great awards.
So we just try to, just celebrating everybody. I don't like the individual, I would rather just focus on what the team has accomplished.
Right. Yeah.
The
Nice.
group. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I think we're ready to move on to Ted Lasso, season 3, episode 4. Everything has been gearing towards Coach Lasso, Richmond, Rebecca facing off against West Ham. Boy, they're called the Hammers. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, I do think it's fun. They had something on their wall too.
Yeah, they have hammers in their crest.
Yeah, I'll get to it in my notes, but they had something that said like a saying on the side, and I wrote it down because it was so odd.
It was
But
like
I'll,
it was the equivalent of iron sharpens iron, but I forget what it was. I know what
yeah,
you're saying too.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't like the name West Ham though at all. Ham. I mean, what? I don't like
It's a
that.
real team though.
I know, but Ham. Why are you called Ham?
So, are you going to sign up for the Ted Lasso tour in the next day or two?
No, I don't think
Oh, I
so.
thought you were going to go. You said you would do it for the pod.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I think it's like 50 pounds, Bill. That's
Hmm.
a lot of money.
Maybe you just go over there and walk a street or two.
Yeah, maybe I can just visit the
Do a
neighborhood.
self,
I can
have
do a
a beer,
self tour.
have a beer at the pub.
Maybe somehow I can be like, can I get underground and look at the sewer system? Because I think that's probably the
Ooh.
highlight from
You
all
want
of Ted
me to
Lasso.
overnight my Believe shirt
Yeah, no,
so
I
you can
don't.
wear it?
Yeah,
No.
I'm
Okay.
good.
So Roy bangs on Jamie's door to train at 4 a.m. Um, Roy says they do that early so they can get 3 workouts in. They definitely stole this straight from Kobe.
From who? Oh, Kobe. Kobe
So
Bryant.
Kobe would famously work out of if he worked out at 4, he had time to recover to do 3 workouts a day instead of 2.
Yeah. As a pro athlete, I feel like two, that would be good. There's no need to more.
3's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So Ann, I ask you to look back on your working out life. When were you most locked in? Just give us a brief history, and then what are you doing now?
I would say in my youth, I was not locked in at all. I didn't work out very much. I just went to practice and did what I was told. But in the off season, I didn't do anything, right? I didn't really do anything.
No,
Um,
you would go play your mandatory pickup.
I do my mandatory pickup. I'd play in like a little summer league that they had in the great town of Knox. And I
Who
enjoyed
coached?
that.
Did someone coach that, or you guys coach yourselves?
I don't recall, but I enjoyed it. It was
I feel like we
games.
coached ourselves.
Maybe we did. We were capable.
I used
Were
to
you in the
go.
Knox League too then?
Yes, at the Knox League, I used to go for the first game, and I would stay until the last game, and I would hope that some team didn't have enough players that would ask me to play an extra game, and that almost always happened.
Awesome. Yeah, never did that myself. I don't even recall how I got myself there. Um, so yeah, and in college, I didn't really work out much in college either, man. I was like, woof, don't have to work out anymore. What
Yeah.
a blessing. Um, so I think in my late 20s, mid 20s, I decided I'm getting too fat. I'm getting too lazy. I got to start working out. So I started training and I did become a little obsessive about it. And I trained for my little half marathon. So that was probably the most locked in I've been. I would eat, you and I would eat very strictly. One of the greatest joys of my life, which I'll mention again in the TikTok trends, is just eating a nice piece of cake or a cookie. Love it. And I'm a sweets person. I just adore all sweets. These people that say, I don't like sweets. I mean, what's wrong with you? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't eat sweets for like a year and a half. And, that was a big deal for me. So that was most locked in when I was doing the marathon training, running. I hated running, but yet I wouldn't skip. I would do it.
Yeah.
And I got to be decent. I thought, I finished my half marathon in a decent time, right? That wasn't a bad time.
I think it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was my most locked in. When I moved here, I think I was still running when I moved to LA, and I was probably 40, close to 40 when I moved here, 38, something like that. One time I fell on the sidewalk and skinned my knees. And I was like, I don't want to run anymore. I hate running. So I stopped running altogether. And then I just would hike. And maybe the last 5 years or so, I've been good at doing some light weights. I wouldn't say they were heavy weights, but I do upper body every other day along with my legs. I do arms, then legs, arms and legs. And then I take Monday off because, Monday's the worst day at work.
Mm.
So it's like I got a little breather then. And I try to hike on the weekends.
6 days a week, Mondays off.
Mondays off. And my weightlifting, it takes less than a half hour. It's not intense at all.
Yeah.
What
Good.
about your workout routine, Bill Bob?
Bill Bob, we haven't broke that
Billy
out.
Bob.
So in high school, I was very steady going to the park with my basketball and didn't really know what I was doing though.
Right. You just play basketball.
Well, I mean, like I went by myself too, no one really showed me how to practice. Somewhere in there was the Steve Alford workout VHS tape. So I used to do some of that, which involves like spinning the ball out to yourself, like it's a pass, and then you can shoot it. You can make all kinds of moves, getting your own rebound, doing it again, resting with free throws. And then I also had you and mom would two ball rebound for me.
I do remember having to rebound, and you'd be like, "Go out, rebound." I'd be like, "No, go, go," and it had to be bagged. And finally, I would go out and do it,
That's
and
right.
just have
Let's
to.
pause
I'd be
there.
sprinting across the lawn trying to get these balls that are going everywhere, and then mom would just kind of be parked there, and I'd throw it to her, and
So
she
I
would
don't
throw
want
it
to
to
be
me.
unappreciative of my father and Vic Heater, but
Right,
because Vic, probably for nothing, made me a basketball court in our backyard.
right. They finished the concrete off of the little patio we had. They put like a
Yep.
border around it.
But really, the concrete didn't extend much. It pretty much was like right under the net was the end of the concrete.
Right, it needs to be a little bigger.
So, like, if you were going to just do a baseline drive, mostly you'd be in the grass.
Right.
And then what the reason I thought of it was because any miss was probably off the concrete.
Yeah, it'd be a bad bounce. It had no fence around it. It would go half across the yard. I'd have to be running across half the yard for it because mom
So
isn't going to do it.
much of my childhood and teenage years was spent begging my family to do things.
Yeah,
Play
true.
play flag football, play kickball, play wiffle ball, play 2-on-2 in the yard. Please come rebound, and please come rebound. And what if I do this or this or this? Finally, you and mom would cave. And then I think I was a little snappy at my rebounders and passers.
Yeah, we have to. We want the ball now. We want it here. Would you go run a little harder after the ball? Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why people resisted helping you. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. I was a lot.
you were a lot, but yeah, glad to do it when
So,
I look back.
especially in college, well, dad bought me weights and I lifted again without much knowledge in high school for probably 2 years. And then I really, as a student and as a worker outer in college, I really stepped it up. So after basketball practices, um, I would lift weights. The team really didn't lift in season. And then we would eat dinner and then we would let our food digest. And me and my friend Scott Rainey would go swim after our food digested at night just to get extra conditioning. Now, I will say that after we swam, a lot of times we would go eat two Whoppers for $5.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
that
the health
maybe
wasn't quite
that
the
probably
nutrition.
offset the swimming. I mean, that was 3,000 calories at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, swimming's supposed to be a real intense workout. I haven't done much of it in my life, but
And I will admit that I did this probably more as like, I hate you, coach. Um, when practice was over, I would often just go straight up the bleachers, jump over the little railing, and run a mile while everyone else was leaving, just to be like,
oh,
I'm still here working, not playing. That
right.
was
Yeah. I
kind
would
of.
never go that far, but congrats to you.
And then junior and senior year, I got hooked up with Gary Tidwell, my roommate. And we were very consistent 4 or 5 days a week, getting up at 5 to work out about an hour and 15 minutes of shooting before this.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yep. And then two more. My marathon training was probably when I was most locked in. Um, two things I remember. One of the toughest workouts was 10 800s. So I can't
Oh,
I can't remember what the time was, but it was like every 800 had to be under a certain amount of time, and you rested about half the time that you had ran. So if it took you 2 minutes, whatever it took you 2 minutes, you rested a minute. So those were pretty intense. And then I didn't like so Saturday mornings, I'd get up and run 20 miles, and then the day was completely shot.
just because you were exhausted
I was
about it?
so tired.
Yeah.
So
20's a lot.
what I started doing, and this reminded Ted Lasso reminded me of this. I bought a headlamp and I ran at night. So Friday night after school, I would run my 20 miles, however, whatever that took me. I can't even think how long that would have been. And then it was pitch black by the end, but I had on my headlamp. Then I could wake up on Saturday and I had the whole weekend and I didn't have to do anything.
Oh, nice. So you would do this like in country roads, I guess. I mean,
No, this
what?
was in the city in Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte is where you
Charlotte.
trained. Okay.
No, yeah. Okay. So let's see. Marathon number one was in Chicago. I lived in Fort Wayne.
Right.
Marathon 2 was in Charlotte, Marathon 3. So I really, boy, this is a long podcast. I really crashed in Marathon 2. Rest in peace, Peter Keller, my friend Katie Dugan's dad. I would have never finished the Charlotte Marathon. I was trying to run 7-minute miles, which I did through 16 miles, and then it just all started to fall apart. It was too fast.
Too fast.
And he ran walked the last 3 or 4 miles, and I was able to finish. And then I was frustrated that I had walked. So the week before I got married, Megan and I went to Columbus, and I ran the Columbus Marathon just so I could finish running without walking.
Oh, nice. It got you so upset. You had to do that.
So that
Yeah,
was like
when
a
I
month.
ran for the marathon, I never did 800s or anything like that. Yeah, that sounds horrible. I just followed a thing where you run like 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles, and a long run, like on the end.
And I ran with this girl I taught with a little bit at Weddington Middle School, who was a faster runner than me. And she did heart rate training. So she would wear something around her chest, and she would get her heart rate up to a certain rate, and she would run for like 2 minutes with it at that rate. And then she would jog. And I would do that with her. I didn't have a heart rate monitor, but that was also at the peak of training.
Yeah, sounds punishing and very unenjoyable.
So now, most of my lifts are with my kids. If Izzy during season, Izzy lifted less, so I lift maybe twice a week on my own, and then usually I at least walk the dog at Valley Crucis on lift days, and I have been running 3 miles, or I run on the treadmill, or I run walk on the treadmill. So still at it at 54.
Still at it. Well, good job for you.
Back to Ted Lasso, Ann.
Back to Ted Lasso. They're doing these workouts. Jamie at first wasn't into waking up, but I don't think it's a jump ahead to say by the end of the episode, he's the one that's ready to go. So it's a good arc for him. We did get to see Jamie's bare butt.
You know what? I had that in my notes, and then the podcast started to get so long that I took it out. Yeah. So Jamie's butt, what'd you think?
Look fine. Look good. He's a shirt wearer. Top, no bottom. I don't like that.
Does anyone really do that?
If you're going to have no bottom, just take the top off too.
Oh,
nobody wants to see you walking around with a t-shirt. You look weird. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, but usually no one would see him.
Well, you would if you were his girlfriend. I'd be like, you're giving me the ick.
Yeah.
Either put some pants on or take your shirt off.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know where that comes from. It makes you think someone must do that on the writing staff.
Yeah, I think guys do it. I remember one of my friend's fathers would do that, and he would walk in the kitchen and pull it down and be like, "Oh, get out of here! we don't want to see you."
Carol Sue's going to be disturbed to know that you're one of your
no. I was like older.
Okay.
And I didn't see anything. He would pull his shirt down, but still, he'd be in the room like that. He'd be
throw on a pair of boxers.
Yeah, you're old. Yeah, come on.
So Nate has a model of a pitch in his room. Coach Nate, who's at West Ham, who betrayed his team Richmond and Coach Lasso. He knocks down the Ted figurine, and he seems to feel bad about that. Does he seem a little conflicted about his behavior?
He's definitely conflicted. We see him conflicted throughout the episode. But guess which part always wins out? The
evil Ned.
Evil Ned always stays out.
Yeah. And then we cut to Ted, who's in bed. He has a picture of Nate by his bed. Thanks for everything, Coach Lasso, whatever. Thanks for everything, Ted. So they're on opposite ends of like how they feel about each other. Coach Lasso is in bed with Sassy. She's getting dressed. He calls her Sassy Smurf. She calls him Marlboro Man.
Yeah, I don't enjoy the nicknames very much, especially Sassy. I mean, who's called Sassy? I don't like it. Marlboro Man's fine.
She's sassy.
Yeah, I get it, but I wouldn't. If I was sassy, I'd be like, "Don't call me sassy." Yeah.
Yeah. Marlboro Man is for the mustache, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind that one.
Or is it American?
I think it's American man with big mustache. Yeah.
All right. Ted explores the possibility, kind of starts a little conversation about being a couple with Sassy. How would you like them together?
No, I don't think it would work out in the long term. I think they have a good thing going here as it is. I'm kind of with her on this. Yeah, there's no reason to make this more than it is.
What's the downside of dating Sassy if you're Ted?
Like dating her, not what he's doing.
They started dating and Ted's with Sassy. Is that what's?
I don't think they really go well together in a relationship
because
They're so opposite. She's like she's sassy. She's like a little negative. She's
She's
much more negative than he is.
yeah. She's
Cynical. She's cynical, and he is totally not cynical.
so cheerful people need to be with cheerful people. Cynical people need to be with cynical people.
Not always, but I think these extremes, I would say they don't really complement each other in a
Aren't
day to day life.
aren't I talented at summarizing what you're saying in a way that I know you'll disagree with?
Yeah, I think you do that a lot in life too. Like you'll say something and you'll throw something back in our face and it's like, dude, I don't want you to tell me stuff that I know. I know how this sounds. You're supposed to go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if okay, so you went through that. How so she says Ted's a mess. Is Ted a mess?
He's a mess. Yeah. I mean, he's still longing kind of for his ex wife, but yet he's, I don't know how many miles away. He's in a different country. He's got a long distance relationship with his son. Yeah, he's having panic attacks. Yeah, let's not start this.
I think divorce is a mess maker.
Divorce is a mess maker, and he hasn't really dealt with the divorce totally. Yeah.
I think from when my first wife left, um, through probably at least Megan and I think one of the reasons that we broke up before we ended up getting back together, getting married, was just my own personal promise to never get married again. So that run was not a, it's probably one of the poorer runs of my life as far as like being a mess. I was a mess.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I wasn't quite as big a mess in Charlotte as I was in Fort Wayne, but I was definitely a mess. And then you should take time and you should let years pass, but some people don't.
Right. Some people have to be in a deep relationship immediately.
So they talk about Uber ratings. That was a fun section. Ted's a 5, Sassy's a 3.9 on her Uber rating.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty low. I don't know what mine is. I'm sure it's a 4 something. You don't have an Uber rating, I'm
I
sure,
do.
right?
I'm a 5.
Do you have it? How many Ubers have you taken in your life though? That doesn't even.
Less than 10.
Yeah, I'm a 4.98. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's
that's what I
fine.
think I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
That's what I would guess. Now you aren't chatting. You're just like no hassle.
I don't chat unless they chat at me. If they chat at me, I'm polite.
Yeah.
I always answer back. I don't say shut up. I don't say
You've never
that.
vomited.
I never vomited. I've never said turn your radio off. I have been in a couple scary Uber rides too, like people driving 100 miles an hour, people having crazy music full blast, and I just sit there and take it. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
So we go to Keeley's PR firm. Um, the CFO, Barbara, asked for tickets. Keeley had no idea the name of the person who's funding her.
Yeah, right. The head of the venture company, capitalist company that is funding her company. She doesn't know them, never met him. That's strange. Yeah. It's unrealistic.
Yeah. So Beard and Roy are talking to Higgins about what Nate's plan will be when they face off against West Ham. Nate is in their head. They need to get the best player to buy in. Anything on that?
Right. They basically go through he's thinking of this, so we're going to think of this. So I believe you're thinking of this until they get back to where they started, which is to play Nate's false nine. And then, of course, Higgins says, well, will Zaba go for that? And they thought, oh, damn, we didn't think about that. He probably won't go for it. So, yeah, I really think the coaching staff in this whole episode is really lacking, including Ted, including Beard. I mean, bring your stuff, guys. You're not doing it for me right now.
This will first sound braggy. I don't mean it to be braggy. I had a good year anticipating what the other team was going to do.
Right.
And that's a little, I mean, of course, there's work involved in that, but it's also a little bit lucky. Like as a coach, sometimes the game starts, you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought, I didn't even imagine that this is the way the game would be. So I didn't have that as much. It's one of the fun parts of coaching is like, what are they going to do? What are we going to do?
Right. Yeah.
So Ted says, kiss. That's a pretty prominent, often preached philosophy. Do you remember kiss?
No.
Keep it simple, smarty pants.
He said this in the episode?
Ted says, yes. Ted says kiss.
Totally
keep it
missed it.
simple, stupid is the actual saying,
Oh,
which
okay.
means the simplest answer is the best answer. The more simple you can keep your scheme, the better. I don't really agree, but I did kind of find out it was true for this year's team. Part of it was one of our top seven had never played basketball before. So, for example, toggling between different ball screen coverages was not something was easy for her to pick up on.
Right. You had to keep it a little simpler because of that.
Like if you say this game we're going to switch screens, this game we're not, that starts to be a little tricky.
Right.
And then he said an answer will show up. Coach Lasso says, keep preparing, keep thinking about the opponent, an answer will show up. I think that on a couple levels. I'm watching the film, game two, game three, drawing diagrams on my iPad, and then you just sort of have a breakthrough. And you're like,
Right. I think you can definitely prepare, and you're kind of in the weeds so much, so you really can't figure it out. And then you're quiet and don't really think about it, and then suddenly it might kind of appear to you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So 2:30 in the morning, I wake up and it's clear. Or the next day, I sit down at the desk again. Now I've got it. And I found that that's true in writing. It's like, oh, this is a mess. This is a mess. This is a mess. And then there's a breakthrough. And I also thought with my somewhat limited, I hesitate to call them documentary films. That's technically what they were. Um, but you just keep listening and you keep interviewing and you keep going through the process. And then you realize, I guess, what the story is, whether it's on a piece of paper or it's behind a camera.
Right. You shape your little narrative of the show.
Ooh, and then really, really sharp line from Beard to Ted. You're acting like Nate didn't hurt you.
Right. And somebody else says pain is like carbon monoxide. Who said that?
Beard said that.
Yeah, don't hold it in. I think it's a good points. Ted does hold his stuff that's negative and he doesn't express it. I mean, he's a coach and he hardly ever yells. It's pretty wild actually.
So Beard goes to some kind of support group. It's something like I'm in a codependent relationship, and Jane makes him go. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like Jane should probably be going by herself.
Jane probably needs a lot of therapy for sure by herself.
So the actual saying is pain is like carbon monoxide, expressing it can open the vent.
Right. Like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Ted likes it. So how do we handle hurt, Anne? I'll just go general for you if you want to dial down a little deeper on a specific hurt. Um, and then do you practice this opening the vent?
Opening the vent. Sometimes I can open the vent if I'm hurt by yelling or whatever. Sure, I
Oh,
can
that's
do
the vent.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
I
I'm
think
not somebody.
the vent is like, Anne, you hurt me. You did this.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely someone that will take a long time to explode, but if I do explode, I kind of lose it and don't, always do the best thing. So I never like to get it to that point. Um, yeah, I don't have any real specific things for me. I think it's just better to deal with it, not hold it in. I think those are all great advice. I don't have anything specific, no.
It's interesting to say you're helping me think about. I thought of this only as talking to the person who hurt me, which is what Ted eventually does in this episode. Um, I didn't really think about what you just kind of said and may not even realize you said. Talking to others about my hurt could help. I don't necessarily have to talk to the person who hurt me.
Right. Expressing your hurt and how you hurt it, we'll talk it through. We'll release a lot of that. You just want to get it out. You want to be like, this hurt me. This didn't feel good. I'm upset about it. And once you get upset about it and allow yourself to be upset about it, you can move on. If you never allow yourself to be upset about it, then you're just burying it deeper and deeper inside.
So is this hurt? I got a list here. So there are parents when I was 22, 23, 24, my first coaching job. They hated my guts with every fiber that they had. I mean,
Right.
they just despised me. Is that hurting me? Because it was more like a mix of fear and anger from me, 22 years old, some 45-year-old man hates my guts. Is that hurt or is that something different?
I mean, it's a little different because what you can be most hurt by people that you love, right? Because you're disappointed
Yeah,
or
I think
you're,
so. I think you're right.
yeah. Whereas this is somebody you didn't love, but it's more like, it's almost more of a fear than a hurt. Or just like, ugh, I want you to get away from me. Like, you're not hurting me, but you're unpleasant. And please get away from me.
So I think more specifically in divorce, I think the super short version is just that my first wife moved out of our house and left and lived somewhere else. That certainly hurt me. Um,
Right.
I recognize that I hurt her as well in different ways. I think there's even before there's like a waiting period of a year maybe back then. I don't know what it is now. So there was a period in that waiting period where we saw each other for less than 5 minutes to exchange tax information,
Right.
and we never spoke again. So there was certainly no, I mean, even though I like pain is like carbon monoxide, expressing it can open the vent. I think if I look at my list here, I almost never told the person they hurt me and opened the vent to them, and that helped them or they helped themselves. That
Right.
didn't
I
happen.
guess it'll be interested in the context of this show whether is Ted going to express his pain to Nate, or is it going to be he expressed it to those Diamond Dog guys or something, and he just gets it out and admits it, or is he really going to express it to him? We'll see, I guess.
And then he did do it with his wife though at the end.
Right, but not about Nate. Yeah, it
No,
was
but
about,
that
yeah.
so and it's one thing I like about this show is you get this lesson and you get everybody saying you've got to deal with Nate. Um, but he also has to deal with the fact that his ex-wife is now dating their marriage counselor or
Right,
whatever,
and their marriage
living.
counselor is involved in his son's life. Yeah.
Um, and so
Right. He learns a lesson that can be applied to different parts
he
of his
does
life.
it with
Yeah.
yeah. So will he keep doing it? Right. So I tend to say, I think not when I'm in my 20s, but when I'm in my late 40s or 50s, I do talk to others about my hurt, and that helps. I still have continued to not tell the person who's hurt me they've hurt me. And
Right.
I feel okay about it. I feel pretty healthy about it.
Yeah. I don't think it's something that's weighing you down.
I think if there's any negative to me, of course, there's lots of negatives. If I was going to list one negative, it's maybe my ability to close the door and never look back on a relationship is it's almost too easy for me.
Oh, well, yeah, I
Like,
feel that.
yeah. And I could see
Yeah.
you having the same
Yeah.
gift
I have
or
friends
curse.
that I used to be very close to, and I never even crossed my mind anymore. Yeah, for sure.
So funny moment. Roy gets up. He does. So the when the coaches meet, the men meet. They call it a meeting of the Diamond Dogs. They bark. They sound ridiculous. Roy leaves the room, but Roy yells BS um, when Ted says that Nate didn't hurt him.
Right. Yeah. So Roy's listening.
Funny moment. Zava, the by far the best player, kind of says two things that are fine. He tells the team ignore the talking faces even when they are in our favor, and
Good point.
he tells them to dream big and you may never wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. He acts pretty good in this whole episode, right? I haven't really seen much diva behavior in this episode.
No, it's right. He's been good.
Yeah, he's good. He's leading in his own way.
He's passing the ball.
He has a unique personality, so he's not going to be maybe a straightforward leader, but he does lead. Yeah.
Isn't it unusual that we have this like Nate in this like mean jerky box. And then he goes and bashfully, unconfidently, sort of tries to flirt with Jade, who works at what is that, Indian food? What is that restaurant?
I thought it was Greek, but I'm not sure.
I can't remember either. Maybe it is Greek.
Yeah, the restaurant. He's back at the restaurant. He went with his parents for their
Parents. Yeah, I can't
anniversary,
remember
and
what that is.
yeah, he kind of got pushed. He didn't get the table he wants. Blah blah blah. And the hostess taught. I wouldn't say the hostess was rude to him
No,
particularly rude.
not
And she's
rude.
not rude here either. He's being a
No.
little too much forward to her. And hey, dude, she's not attracted to you. She doesn't care you're the head coach. Deal with it. The manager does care and spawns all over him, gives him the free food. I would never give these rich people free food, though, I don't think, but I
No,
get
I
it.
heard, I told you to listen to Scott Mempelt. Um, and on his podcast, he's talking about like all these people that picked up the tab for him in Breckenridge. And it's like, geez, Scott Mempelt can pay his own bill.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it kind of because it can be good PR. Maybe Scott Van Pelt's going to put it on the
He did.
Instagram.
So
I
Scott,
love this place. Yeah.
he said that on the pod. You're
So it's
right.
well worth giving him a
Well,
free meal,
that's true.
And if Nate's a
I was
frequenter of
wrong.
this restaurant, that would probably only appeal. I assume the restaurant must be in the West Ham neighborhood. I don't know. Uh, so it only appeals to that. But I like how this hostess is like, yeah, whatever, dude. I don't care if you're the coach, of
So they
West
kind
Ham.
of, I think Nate is, he's getting rounded out again because I think he felt bad about pushing down Ted's little figurine. And now he's so silly and unconfident, and bumbling is a good word. He runs into the door and doesn't even open the door. He smashes his face on the glass because it seems like he likes Jade, right?
Right, but he's also bumbling still at the West Ham facility, right? He's a little bumbling with Rupert. He's just an easily
He is, you're
intimidated
right.
person. He hasn't really fit into his role yet, which, hey, just a year or two ago, he was the equipment manager. So I'm sure it does take some time to adapt to, hey, I'm the head coach here. I can be maybe, I don't want to say arrogant, but I can, I have a lot of power in this building. There's no need for me to be timid or unsure of what to say, but he's just an unconfident guy.
He's the classic unconfident, fake, arrogant person.
Yeah, and the only way he can be confident is by being a jerk and spitting on himself and then yelling and stuff like that. He can't be a confident, nice guy at all.
No, like Ted and like Roy
Like
and like
Ted. Yeah.
Beard. All those
Yes,
guys are
exactly.
really confident and comfortable. Keely has hired her friend Shandy. She's trending down, correct?
Well, first she kind of trends up. She does a good job with the banter interviews, right?
Sort of. Not. I mean,
Sort of, but
she
what
lets
would she do wrong?
Zorro turn Van Damme allude to sex, I think, in the
Well, we don't know
video.
how she's going to cut the videos, right?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, Zorro is the right way to pronounce that, I think, something like that.
No,
Although Zava
I mean,
says
he
he'll
changed the
pronounce it any way he
pronunciation
wants.
a
Yeah.
bunch of ways. Yeah.
And now he's Van Damme. Van Damme, I used to kind of like Van Damme back in the day, but then he turned out to be a real jerk. So I took it back.
Uh, you mean not Zorro, the character, you mean.
The real Jean Claude Van Damme.
Yeah. And they make some funny jokes about him that you must have appreciated.
Yeah. And if your name is Zorro, why would you change your name? That's a great name, right? It's almost Zorro.
Yeah.
I mean, you would
So
keep that name.
let's finish Shandy and not bring her up again. Um, she changes the bio line, something about having sex with famous people, celebrities. I mean, she's a disaster.
She's a disaster. You would never give this woman the password to be able to change the bio line. Changing the bio line of banter would require a big meeting and approvals of the top people. It would. This woman would not have the password. So you know, but I get
Keely
it.
might
It's a
Keely might
sitcom.
give it to her.
Keely might be so inexperienced in her role as the head of a PR firm that maybe she would give it to her. But yeah, you don't give this woman any kind of trust like that. This woman's brand new at this work too. She
If
doesn't know how to
Keely
behave a
asked
corporate
you,
manager.
if Keely asked you what she should do, what would you tell her?
I would say, you know what? She's not fitting in the corporate lifestyle. If you want to work with her, maybe you could work with her on a contract kind of basis, but you can't be giving her passwords to this stuff. You have to approve everything she does. She can come and present work to you, but you have to approve it. You're giving too
Change the
much
passcode,
independence.
right?
Yeah.
We're on the edge of it's time to get rid of Shandy.
It's time to get rid of Shandy. Shandy makes her look bad in front of Jack, who we didn't really
Ooh,
talk about, but
that
Jack
looks bad. No, I was
Jack
yeah.
is the head that we talked about of her PR for or the venture capital company that's funding her PR firm. So yeah, she looks bad.
So Jack turns out to be a woman. They meet in the stall when Keely's going to the bathroom before the football match, and she needs a tampon, and she asks the person next to her if they could spare a tampon.
Yes. I knew it was going to be Jack, didn't you? It was too obvious they were giving away that was going to be her
Absolutely.
boss. Yeah. The way they stared at her feet and everything. But
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't surprised.
I was
Uh,
not surprised. Yeah.
it reminds me of there's a Seinfeld episode where Elaine asks the person if they can spare a square. Is that right? It's
Yeah. Spare a
Seinfeld.
square and they gave her like just a square.
Spare a
Right.
square. And
Yeah.
she
And a
has to.
square is not enough for anybody. Right.
So no, it's not. Ted Lasso, it does a lot of this borrowing, remixing famous scenes from sitcoms and movies.
Yeah. I guess I would have never thought of that one myself, but you're right. They must have thought of it. Although it's a classic thing, I think it's probably been in other movies. Women do ask
Yeah.
people for tampons underneath the
So
partition.
someone has ripped the believe sign, um,
We saw
and
that happen though, right? We knew that.
I don't think we
I
did.
think we did. Yeah, we saw Nate do this before. I knew it was Nate who did it.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, I
The
knew.
characters didn't know who did it, and they didn't even know it was ripped. But
So the character they one of the players discovers that the big belief sign that they all smack, like Notre Dame smacks play like a champion. These guys smack the belief sign, and so they watch video and they show Coach Lasso that Nate has ripped the sign. Lasso's reaction is different than the rest of the coaching staff.
right, the coaching staff wants to use it for anger or motivation, I guess, to their team, but Ted doesn't even want it to be mentioned. Maybe I'm dumb, but this wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be like, whatever, he ripped the sign, I don't care. I don't know. Is that just me? Would you care?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, I
I
guess
think
if you spit on my logo or something, I might care, but it's just like when people are dancing on your logo in the center, whatever, screw offs. I don't care what you
yeah.
do.
I think it's more like so we, for example, have a charge wall in our locker room. So if you take a charge, I take a screenshot of it, I write a caption, we tape it to the wall. So if you got ticked off and quit the team and went into our locker room and did something like tear down all of the charge wall signs, it would feel like a betrayal. We wouldn't do anything about it, but we certainly would be angry.
Right. I might be like slightly angry, sure. But that's almost even personal. Like you tore down my charge, that would be a little upsetting. But you ripped the sign that said believe. I know believe is very important to them, but I don't know, it seems over the top to me.
So as we get ready for this big football match, we got a lot going on, I think in a really good way. Keely is nervous about meeting her funder, Jack. Rebecca runs into her ex-husband, Rupert, who owns this team. He has a new wife and baby, Bex. And Ted is going to coach against Nate. They haven't seen each other since Nate left. So that's a lot that's getting ready to happen.
It's a lot. Two things. In the beginning, they're walking off the bus to the song Cool Like That from the Digital Planets, which I listened to a lot, I want to say in college. And then I found out when I looked it up that it's actually called Rebirth of Slick. Cool Like That in parentheses, but I always thought it was just Cool Like That. So
Who sings it?
Digital Planets, haven't thought about them in 30 years.
I'm writing them down right now.
Kind of that era of like rap, intelligent rap that was very brief back in the day.
Others could point to longer stretches, but
Right, sure.
it's not
And
our
also,
area.
my second thing would be this facility, West Ham, is so much nicer.
So much nicer. I think it's
like,
really.
It's like 2 stories. It's like glass walls. It's like
It's a real. I think it's a real Premier League.
Professional. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do all that, but they are not allowed to step onto the grass really when they shoot this.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can't hurt that grass.
That's right. So Nate's in the elevator. Ted.
Yeah. So embarrassing.
That's
Ted
weird.
gets on the elevator. Elevator is packed to the gills. Ted's in the front. He has to let everybody on West Ham off at the first floor. He lets them all off, and then he realizes there's somebody cowering in the corner by themselves with their back to him, facing the corner like a naughty little kid, and it's Nate. Nate
Are
does
coaches?
not turn around. Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea if coaches are riding elevators with regular people in the game.
Right. Nate would have been there hours before, right? He would have been in the
But is he
facility.
moving from like one
I
place?
guess maybe, yeah.
So like this is something that is a little bit funny that I can bring up. When I went into the team entrance at Madison Square Garden, right, Ann?
Right. Yeah.
The elevator held 40 people. So the whole party, the team, the trainers, the coaches, all got into the elevator. I guess theoretically anybody working there, could have been getting into that elevator.
Yeah, sure. I don't
And
like to
then
get on elevators with 40 people, but yeah.
at other places, the elevator was almost so big it almost felt like you were on that up and down ride at Disney. What's that called? You know what
Oh,
I mean? Tower of
the
Terror.
elevator ride? Yeah, Tower
Tower
of
of
Terror.
Terror. Yeah. It wasn't quite that big, but it was an enormous elevator. Um, so Nate almost apologizes twice. He's close.
But he just can't quite do it. Yeah. And then Rupert interrupts him, right? The
Yeah.
elevator bings, Rupert's
So
there.
you don't give him any credit for almost.
I mean, I'll give him some credit. He does feel bad. At least some part of him feels bad. So I guess he has something still in there.
And we'll just point out again that inspired by The Empire Strikes Back, Rupert really has his cape on. Did you notice?
No, I didn't notice the
He's got the
cape.
flowing black trench coat that might as well be
Oh,
Darth
well, it's
Vader's.
not a real cape if it's a trench
No,
coat.
but that's what it's doing.
Okay.
It's
Well, okay, but it's not a cape. I keep thinking I would notice a cape.
no, so it's pretty. It's shocking to me that I didn't pick up on it until I read the book.
Okay. This is where I wrote down the sign. And now it doesn't seem as great, but there was a sign that said West Ham, the hotter the furnace, and then something. I didn't get it. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if
have a feeling it's like yeah, it's probably the hotter the furnace. Yeah, we could look it up. I don't know.
yeah,
It's probably something about handling pressure and being stronger.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, the hotter the
Like
furnace,
you would a
the
forge
harder we're forged.
a
Yeah,
horseshoe in a
right. A
fire
sword.
flame or
I would
something.
say a
Oh,
sword
a
would be better
sword is a
than,
great
yeah.
example.
Yeah, the
That's
horseshoe.
right. They play poorly. They're down 2-0 in halftime. Ted's feeling the pressure. Rebecca is losing it. I mean, she's a terrible owner at halftime. I believe in you, Ted. And Ted's like, it's intense. And then Roy and Beard show the video of Nate ripping up the sign at halftime.
Well, a couple things. The game is like pretty tight for a while, and then they score, and then right before the time, Nate does some kind of secret coaching move, and he does
I would
show
I
a
would say they pressed.
tactical,
They
yeah, a
pressed.
tactical thing, and they scored again right at the end. So, coaching, I give a check mark to you, Nate, because you actually did some coaching. This is where Ted's just like dropping in my eyes as a coach. First of all, he gets out of there, and he's and the Beard and Roy are like, "What should we say? What should we do?" And basically, Ted was like, "Say whatever." Right? He
He
kind of
said,
blew them
surprise
off.
me.
Yeah, surprise me. So hey, guess what? They surprised you, Ted, and you're gonna go. Of course, okay. You have to talk to the owner for a second, but then you go in there and they're watching this video. They're upset and angry, and he just kind of lets it happen. I mean, you're not gonna give him a little speech or anything. He does nothing.
So he's disappointed with what they've done. He decides to just say, okay, guys, you tried it. Let's see what happens. So the point is that Beard and Roy show their ex assistant coach ripping up their beloved belief sign to try to motivate them and be angry. And my question for you, Anne, is anyone else capable of making you extra motivated?
At this time in my life.
Anytime in your so when you were in high school playing,
I mean,
your
sometimes I heard a speech or something at halftime and it would motivate me. I would get excited.
and what's the philosophy, or it doesn't matter?
I don't recall any what the philosophies
Yeah.
were. I feel like often it'd just be everybody would join together. You would all be feeling the same emotion. You'd be excited, be clapping, you'd be shouting, and that could get you kind of excited. And you hope that excitement translates into intensity, I would say.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is bad intensity, like this one, right?
Yeah,
This is too much intensity. Nobody was holding back.
And then does anyone at work ever try to motivate you?
No, I don't feel any motivations at work.
Yeah, no one tries even.
They might try, but I just find it all to be a little corporate speak, and I just don't get into it.
And you're doing
I'm never a response to that. I never respond to that very well, and some people do, so I just let it happen.
Yeah.
We do watch like he'll send our bosses will send a video sometimes, and it'll be some motivational speaker talking for 3 minutes about something, and I can get something out of it, but it's not like I'm sitting around watching those videos on my own time.
Wonder how many people don't watch it at all.
I think a lot of people do watch it because then we'll have these meetings and they'll be like, anybody watch the video? Let's talk about it. And sometimes you'll get called on.
Okay.
So you always kind of, to me, have to be ready.
I would say I'm mostly self-driven.
Yeah.
If I have lost and I get to play you or the team again, I'm pretty motivated about that.
Right.
If you're out there kind of laughing or celebrating while the game's still going on, that will certainly motivate me.
Mm.
Just other people thinking they're better than me, which most of the time was like, oh, I'm a junior and there's a freshman recruit. And I know the head coach thinks this, this person's taking my spot, or this person's coming in as a freshman and like that really motivated me. It never translated to me keeping my spot, but
right.
it did translate to me like
being intense about it,
dominating people in individual workouts. It's like, okay, you're going to get put in before me anyway, but I'm going to make it obvious right here that I'm better.
Right. I think for me, it was like, oh, this person's better than you. And I'd be like, no, they are. They do seem to be better. Whatever.
And I think when coaches screamed at me, I did try harder.
Right. Oh, I definitely tried harder when people screamed at me. Yeah. Or I guess sometimes I would be embarrassed. I guess I'd have this thought of one thing. I always got very good grades, right, without having to try too hard. But in college, once I had this class, I remember it very well, and I think we only had 2 tests the whole semester, and we could throw out one of the tests, right? Mm. And in the first test, I just didn't try very hard, and I got a C plus or something. I was like, what? I've never got a C plus in my life. And guess what I got on the next test, Bill? A plus. A plus.
In college?
In college.
Oh, we don't give pluses at that.
And it was a like a blue book test, where you just write stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that did motivate me.
Just so the failure motivated you.
Yeah, the embarrassment of failure motivated me.
We see Rupert, so that he has kind of this like ultra efficient, blunt, used to seem really professional assistant, but we see Rupert making out with her at this football match.
Right. I mean, a tiger doesn't change his stripes. He cheated on Rebecca to get with Rebecca. If someone's cheating on someone to get to you, they're probably going to cheat on you eventually. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but it's very high. And so that's what he is. And he's a rich billionaire. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
When people rip coaches to me, I know that they're ripping me to someone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody does gossip a little bit, but yeah, you always think, wonder what they're saying about me to them, right?
After the game, Roy and Beard know that they messed up. They own it immediately.
Right, which I liked. I mean, let's mention what happened in the game. Basically, they were so intense. They got a red card. The team did not self-correct with a 1 red card. To me, if you get a red card in soccer, you guys should be...
It was a comical...
Yeah, it was a comical thing. Guys should be like, good God, we got a red card. They got like 3 red cards, right? They got 3 men down.
They must have finished with like 6 players or something.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, they're basically blowing everybody over. You would think maybe someone might get suspended. I mean, you can't just clock people. So, yeah, the ending of the team was embarrassing for people to watch. Rebecca was embarrassed. Keely was a little embarrassed in front of Jack.
I also think Rebecca realized that she was part of the problem.
For sure. Yeah. I would think, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, the coaches own up that they did the thing wrong, but Ted kind of refuses to chastise them as they keep begging him to do. But I mean, why chastise someone if they're asking you to? Because then they already realized their mistake. And I think Ted's right in that.
Ted said you tried something new, it didn't work, big whoop.
Right. Yeah.
I've noticed that I have started to use big whoop.
Have you? Well, yeah, that's really throwback old fashioned. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about saying.
I feel like our mother would say big whoop.
Big whoop.
Big whoop. She would definitely say that.
Mom likes to say crap.
She does say a lot of craps.
Like, the Colts throw an interception. Well, crap.
Well, crap. Yeah. That's one saying I use from Mom. and people comment when I say it, is crying in the night. Don't you think she says that a lot? And I'll say it for crying in the night, and people be like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah,
Because don't you say for crying out loud?
yeah, but she would say crying in the night. And if you think about it, like crying in the night, what am I even talking about?
Right. And you say that in disgust.
Yeah, I'll be like, well, crying in the night. And
Yeah.
people would be like, what?
I never say that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Now, something that was almost worth it to me when every player walked out after halftime and looked at Nate like they wanted to kill him, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too. And Nate was off-putted by it too. So it bothered him. I mean, so yeah, I liked it.
It was
So
almost worth
Nate comes back out, right, and sees Ted getting ready to get on his bus, and he's talking to somebody, I forget who. And so he's getting ready to approach him and apologize him again. So we have an almost apology coming again. But alas, was it Rupert who got him? Or no, it
it.
was Rupert's assistant who came up and
Oh,
said,
right.
hey, Mr. What's Rupert's last name? And Mr.
Mannion.
Mannion has to, yeah, because Nate can't even call him by his first name, right?
Well, he
Until,
keeps switching it. I don't get it.
well, I think he keeps saying Rupert and he says Mr. Mannion, right?
No,
He keeps
he turns
oh, he
around.
lets him do it
He
sometimes.
calls him Rupert and he corrects him and says it's Mr. Mannion.
Well, okay, so Rupert's playing mind games with him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
throwing him off, basically.
So do you realize that that's the second time we've seen the club Bones and Honey?
No.
Yeah, so they go to Bones and Honey, and
Oh, is
that's
Bones and Honey the other membership club they went to?
that's
Okay.
yeah, that's the Beard After Hours club.
Yeah. So yeah, Nate gets an invite to the Bones and Honey. Is that what you're saying? Bones and Honey?
Bones and Honey.
Bones and Honey Club. That seems like a name of a club.
Yeah, I told you what the name was in a different episode, and now I've forgotten.
Yeah.
So Rupert is doing what cheaters do. Rupert is doing what sleazy people do. They try to get every
cheaters.
Cheaters, romantic.
Oh, I thought you meant
wife
like
cheaters.
cheaters, like the game. Yeah.
No, so Rupert, who's sleazy, who's cheating on his wife, just wants everyone to come out and behave like he does, so nobody's got anything on him.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. He
We're
wants him
all
at the
in
club
this
too.
together.
And of course, when Rebecca comes out, she sees Bex, who is Rupert's. I guess they're married. His wife, the mother
And
of his
don't
child.
forget, in real life, Jason Sudeikis' ex-girlfriend.
Oh, is it? No, I didn't realize that. Very beautiful woman. And you know, Rebecca feels a twinge of empathy towards her because she knows he's being cheated on, and she gives Rupert a little whisper in his ear saying, you know, they don't deserve that, but I'm sure that won't stop him. But yeah, she tells him that. They show up the club.
It seems to hit pretty hard to him when she says that, right?
Yeah, maybe he feels a little exposed, I guess, but I don't think it'll stay with him. I guess we'll find out. But
I felt like I saw Jade somewhere, but I looked her up and I have not.
Who's Jade?
Jade is the woman at the Greek restaurant that Nate likes.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
She's Polish.
Oh.
Edyta. I don't know. I won't even try.
No, Edyta. I don't know.
Budnick? Yeah. All right.
So yeah, Nate does go to Bones and Honey, and he gets introduced to some actress. Basically, Rupert, you know, got him a girlfriend, basically, or a knight or whatever. Yeah. Somebody who would never date Nate in real life, except now a billionaire is introducing her to the head coach of whatever.
So then I'll skip where Roy bangs on the door and Jamie's ready to go with his headlamp on. We already talked about that kind of. Ted's at home. He doesn't finish his drink. I think maybe that's a tiny sign he's going to be less of a mess.
I didn't even notice he didn't finish his drink. Yeah. That's a good sign. Yeah.
He holds up his glass of, let's say it's whiskey. He puts it down. He looks at his texts from his psychiatrist. He doesn't text her. He looks at the texts of his ex-marriage counselor, Dr. Jacob, and then he calls his wife, and she's like, you know, whatever the son's name is, Henry?
I think it is Henry.
And he's
video calls his wife.
I want to talk to you. And he tells her he's angry about that. We got to raise this little boy together. We're stuck with each other. We're going to share grandkids. I love this family no matter what it looks like.
Right. I don't know really. So is he saying, I actually want to try to be with you again? Or is he just saying, we'll always love each other and have this connection. We need to work through it. And you're doing something that I really think it's bad.
I think um, the fact that you're with Dr. Jacob is made me angry. I think it was inappropriate. I think it was an incredible betrayal. And if we're going to raise this little boy together, I'm going to have to verbalize some of this. I can't just keep it all inside. And I actually think Michelle, his ex-wife, sort of thinks twice about like Ted. Maybe part of this is what was hard about being with Ted, and that Ted would actually, in this light way, confront her as like a new Ted.
Right. Ted never spoke up about things that bothered him. You know, she never really felt like maybe she truly knew Ted, maybe even. So I think Ted telling her the absolute truth, she does seem to take it well. She wasn't defensive about it. She just took it because maybe she realizes she's doing something kind of wrong too. So yeah, it was a good call.
And I thought those two back-to-back scenes were really good. I felt emotionally, and I'm the kind of person I think emotionally moved in weird spots. Like I feel like crying when Jimmy Chitwood hits the shot. Or no, when Jimmy Chitwood walks in and says, "I'm ready to play ball." And when Roy bangs on the door and Jamie comes busting out in his headlamp, that's the kind of thing that makes me feel like crying.
Got a little lump in your throat
Let's
that
go.
it was
That's right.
working.
And so
Nice.
the lump stayed through Ted's talk with his ex-wife.
Oh, well, nice. You know, my that boss who brought up Hoosiers once again with me this past week. Can you believe that? I was like, we just talked about this, and he did it again.
And he talked about it like he hadn't thought about it.
He walked by my desk. He gave me a fist bump, which is kind of weird. And
Because
then
you
he
guys are
walked.
you guys are basketballers.
And we know each other, but it's not like we're talking every day. And he walks to the door, and he's like a good 10 feet behind me, and he screams at me, "Annie, I saw Hoosiers the other night again. I can't turn away when I see it. Gene Hackman." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a great movie." I didn't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, you got a connection.
I got it. Yeah, Hoosiers. I
You're
guess
like a
that's
presence, and you don't even want to be.
right. I guess I represent Hoosiers.
We get Fade to Black. Bob Dylan's "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right."
Yeah, I don't know any Bob Dylan songs by hearing. Bob Dylan doesn't do it for me. Got no feelings for Bob Dylan.
I keep
Don't want to
bringing
see that movie with Timothy Chalamet. Don't want to
because
see
you
it.
say that. I keep bringing up Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah. You know, the movie's on Hulu now, I think. So if you wanted to watch it, you could.
I think Izzy would like to watch it.
Yeah, it's not actually supposed to be a very good movie, I hear, but he's supposed to be very good. So
Right. This is the Gen Z TikTok romanticize your life segment. Are you ready, Ann?
our new closing segment. Let's go.
If we so allegedly we're not hip to this scene to say something from the 50s. You and I are clueless about what's trending on TikTok.
Right. I mean, I do seem to think that TikTok is mainly about trends, right? Trends appear on TikTok, people jump on and make videos off those trends. So now apparently Izzy has identified a trend called how to romanticize your life, kind of, right? Am I getting that right?
Yep.
And when I read the description you sent over to me, which maybe you want to read it, I don't know.
I was going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
So to
read it.
me, my TikTok is basketball workouts, basketball sets, movie clips from things like Sopranos, Bourne movies, Tom Cruise movies, Ted Lasso. That's my TikTok.
Yeah, I get a lot of movie clips. I get a lot of NBA stuff actually,
Same. I forgot that.
like highlights. I get a lot of people talking about stuff. So yeah, I see some of the trends, some of the music trends sometimes, but I've never seen this romanticizing your life trend.
So we're going to accept that romanticize your life is a trend, even though we don't know it.
We are going to accept that. Yes.
And then how would you define? So we got two example videos. How would you define this romanticize your life trend? What is it saying?
Well, first there was a definition you provided. Then you provided these two videos. The two videos to me didn't quite match the definition. The definition you provided, I thought, well, this is my life. Taking long walks, listening to music. I forget what the other things were.
Well, one of the videos, one of my favorite ones was something like extinguish your candles with flair. So
Right.
like
I actually really like that one. I saw that video and I thought I would do that one if I had one of those little extinguishers because
and
that's pretty
this
good.
reminded me, I don't know why was I ever a person who walked around with something that's like 3/4 the length of a yard rake with a little bell on the end that puts out. I know that I've walked down
It
church
must have been in
aisles
church or
and
something,
they gave me the job of putting out the candles.
like an altar boy or something. But
Almost, yeah,
I mean,
like
we didn't go to Catholic school or
I
Catholic church,
know I
so
don't, but
yeah.
I definitely have walked down the aisles of
Maybe
church.
you've done it a couple of times. It's not like you did it a lot. Maybe you did it like at Easter or something.
Maybe, right? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But your
It
definition of romanticize your life, what would you say?
do things. Oh, I know what I liked about the definition. The definition said find the joy, something like find the joy in everyday items
Hmm.
apart from goal setting and stuff like that. And I've never been a goal setter.
Right.
So for me, I was like, this is my life. But then I watched the videos and I was like, well, it's not quite my life because these videos do focus a little bit more on the aesthetic of making the aesthetic of your life happy. If making things look aesthetically beautiful or a certain
Oh,
way, and that makes you happy, do it. Which I agree with that. I got no problems with that. A lot of the things in the videos I don't do, cook for yourself. I'm never going to cook for myself. I did like make a cake just for yourself. Well, I wouldn't make a cake just for myself, but I would buy a cake just for myself, and I do buy cakes just for myself. So those things I was into. Lighting candles. I'm not a candle person, even though I would like to snuff the candle out with the snuffer. I don't like candles. I feel like I read once where it's really not that good for your
I
lungs.
actively dislike candles.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for your lungs. And so
Megan loves candles.
the look of candles is great. I agree. The smell of candles can be nice too, but to me, I think it hurts your lungs, and I'm not into it. And candles are very expensive. I have a lot of candles actually in my apartment,
I
but
can see
I
you
never
have
light
one.
them.
Right.
Yeah, I never light them.
All right, here's my definitions of romanticize your life. One would be just do a little something nice for yourself.
Right, like somebody bought flowers for themselves. I don't do that, but actually, I think maybe I should.
And then the other one, which was kind of like a different way of saying the same thing, do a little something to keep the horrors at bay.
Right, the horrors at bay.
That was in the second video. It said keeping the I think the words, I don't even know what you call them. The little TikTok description was like keep the horrors at bay.
I like that phrase kind of. But to me it's almost like the banalities of life can get you down, but if you make those banalities of life appeal to you sometimes in certain ways with certain routines, that can actually lift you up and make you happy. So to me, the thing I would grasp onto is do things that make you happy, even if it may seem stupid to someone else. It may seem stupid to you to buy a French or Italian toothbrush and Portuguese toothpaste like one girl did. But if that makes her happy, go freaking buy the toothpaste. I don't care. If you think it's pretty cool looking at your Portuguese toothpaste, then do it.
So did we hear your list, everything that you would do to just accept that definition? If you're going to do things to romanticize your life, did we already hear all of your list or is there more?
Well, I think I do a lot of things. Like I do take long walks just to listen to not an audiobook, but I'll do it just to listen to music because I'll never sit on my couch and just listen to music, but I do need to be walking or something. Like I went for a hike this morning, and when I got back, I did a lot of stuff. I ate lunch, and then I went for another walk just to do it. But that was a slow walk, listening to music, stopping at stores leisurely around the city. And so I do that a lot. And I do that because it makes me feel, part of life. It makes me happy to be out there.
Yep.
The only thing I would maybe add is the flowers do intrigue me, but that could get expensive. But if you buy them at Trader Joe's or something, it wouldn't be that expensive. I do buy stupid things maybe that make me happy. Like today, I have no need for more shoes, more tennis shoes. I just bought those salmon shoes. Right. Yeah. And when I was walking around, I saw some Fenty Pumas. You know what Fenty is?
Yes.
Fenty is Rihanna's brand, and they were a crossover Fenty Pumas, and they were really outrageous. They were like neon yellow, and there was another color, and I thought, oh, I can't wear those. But then I went home and I looked it up, and I saw some white ones, and they have a little flap like a old baseball cleats. You know how they have the flap in front sometimes. Right. I bought them, and I thought, how can I wear these? Where am I going to wear these? I don't know, but I
You
bought
can't
them
wear
because
them
they
to
make
work.
the flat might be too much. Maybe I could. I might because they are just white. They are
Yeah.
just white.
Wear them with. You can wear jeans to work, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, people wear crazy things to work. So yeah, I definitely could. But I'm going to buy these shoes and I'm going to hardly wear at all. But they're going to make me happy. They're going to make me happy sitting in my closet.
It's a little treat for yourself.
It's a treat for myself. I've never been
Those
afraid of treating myself.
those shoes will keep the horrors at bay.
To keep the horse at bay.
All right, here's my list. Ready?
Uh-huh.
A short nap,
Okay. I never nap, but go for it.
berries on my morning yogurt.
Okay. Nice. Colorful.
No, that's every day, but I do feel really happy when I
About
see
seeing those
when
berries.
I see those blackberries, blueberries hit the yogurt. I feel it makes me.
Nice.
It's a
It's
really
kind
good
of like
moment.
how I feel when there's a perfect amount of ice and I can see the Diet Coke crackling in the glass. Yeah.
If I read during the day,
Oh, like a book.
yeah, like my reading is almost exclusively of like I'm getting in bed. I'm probably reading 10 to 15 minutes. If I go crazy, I'm going to read 45 minutes. But a treat is like I'm going to go sit on the porch with it's my iPad now, and I'm going to put my feet up and I'm going to read, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I could be being more productive, but I'm going to read a little bit.
Right. This, I don't want to interrupt you constantly
You
with
can
mine,
interrupt.
but
Do.
one of the things I used to love to do, but I don't do anymore, is I would get the Sunday paper when we would actually buy papers, and I would go to some kind of coffee shop, breakfast pastry place, and I'd sit there for like an hour and a half reading this paper, eating, some kind of morning treat. So I feel you on that.
That sounds perfect. That's really
No, I
what.
love that. That was
Yeah.
great.
I think the most extravagant, selfish thing I do in my life is this podcast.
Oh yeah, because it's a real time suck. Yeah.
Woo. I mean, there's another 3 to 4 hours. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like I could and should be doing when I'm preparing for this.
Right. And you're not like making money off this. So yeah.
No, we're going in the hole on this. Last one. This is a pretty, actually, I can kind of think of two, but walking the dog at Valley Crucis, listening to one of my favorite podcasts, letting Indy get in the river and lay down. That's a really
Right.
good moment. And
Yeah.
just like I live in the mountains of North Carolina, I'm walking next to the river and there's the sun over the mountains. That kind of stuff.
Right. I actually wrote down looking at landscapes, even though that was a dumb way to phrase it. But that's what I mean. Like when I go on a hike this morning, I went to Griffith Park. I look at the Hollywood sign. I look at
Yeah.
all of LA underneath me, and I think, this is great. What a great place. Yeah.
So you look at the Hollywood sign in the same, I mean, I'm 8 years in, you're longer in LA, I think. 8 years in, I'm still like, wow, look at those mountains.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I should be more precise. I don't really look at the Hollywood sign much because it's behind me, but I'll look at the Griffith Observatory underneath me, and I'll
All
think
white.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All white in those brown mountains. And for
Yeah.
me, it's like the Watauga River curving away
Or
through.
your view from the porch is really good.
Absolutely. And the view from my office where I sit right now.
Yeah. I think the porch one's better, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the same angle. This is just
Yeah,
higher.
but you're lower. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's right. And then we had a couple other extra questions from our producer. Um, I think the main one is, I guess you already said it. If you're going to treat yourself by buying something, the only thing I could think of was maybe a milkshake.
Oh yeah. Well, food thing, not really
That's kind of
material item.
my,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I'll buy a really expensive piece of cake here at Milk, and
right.
it's like $11. And it's like, it's
That's
a
a
piece of
really good
cake.
example.
What am I doing? But
And
I
the
like the
milkshake,
cake.
I'm going to suffer from the milkshake. I'm pretty lactose intolerant. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to have a milkshake.
Right.
Yeah, which I've had like, I don't know, two or three all year.
Yeah. I haven't had any milkshakes. I like
But
milkshakes, but they kind of hurt me
and
too.
you mentioned those shoes. You both bought those shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of burned out on like athletic wear and shoes. It's like, geez, do I
Yeah.
need more? Yeah. All right.
Right.
So there you go. There's our Gen Z TikTok Romanticize Your Life segment.
Yeah. I hope our producer likes the content. Maybe not. We'll see.
So get ready for our breakout on the
Our
social
viral
media,
videos. Yeah.
social media channels. And it was good to see you.
Good to see you. Have a good one. Have a great banquet.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Smart takes the shot, and the Hoosiers with 3 seconds. Go ahead.
But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain and an athlete
and a basket case, a princess,
and a criminal. Does that answer your question?
I love you guys.